The Autistic Culture Podcast Network. The sound of autistic culture.
ACPN.
Hey everyone, it's Simon here, one of the co-founders of the Autistic Culture Podcast Network. And before we get started on your very cool podcast episode, well, I'd love to ask you a really big favour. The Autistic Culture Podcast Network is completely independent. We're not owned by a media company, and we're definitely not funded by a large organisation. Every single thing that you listen to that we make here is made possible by people who believe autistic voices deserve to be heard. If you've been enjoying any of the podcasts that we make here, I would really love you to consider to become a culture builder through Autistic Culture Plus. For just £5 a month, you will get every single episode we make here early and completely ad-free. But more importantly, and this is the more important bit, you will be helping us commission new shows, support autistic creators, and continue building a network that's proudly autistic-led. You can join us right now at autisticcultureplus.com. That's Autistic Culture Plus, supporting autistic creators one conversation at a time. Whew, well, with that out of the way, let's get on with your podcast.
Hello and welcome to Theatrically Authentic, a behind-the-scenes theatre podcast by neurodivergent theatre makers who have worked both on stage and backstage, in the wings, the green room and the rehearsal hall.
Each episode blends industry insight, deep character analysis and theatre kid energy. And in the final episode of this series, we're diving into closing night culture and post-show blues.
So today we are going to be talking about why ending a show can feel like grief, why losing routine, your purpose and your community can hit harder than people might expect, and why, for autistic nervous systems especially, the sudden loss of structure can feel a little bit less like nostalgia and more like dysregulation.
That's right, because sometimes the hardest part of theatre isn't opening a show, it's closing one and letting it go. I'm Simon Scott. For the final time in this series, I'm joined by Sarah Atherton-Knight. This is like our own little closing night, and I'm sad. I've loved doing this series, and I genuinely have that feeling of like, I'm not going to be working on this anymore. This is really sad.
Yeah, it's really weird. And it has been such a joy. It has been such a pleasure. Thanks for doing this with me. Thanks for having me along for a crazy ride. It really does feel like a closing night in a way, and like many closing nights, I'm gonna go cry in a corner in a bit.
Oh no, don't say that.
No, it's good, it's good.
It's good, it's cathartic, let the demons out. Yes. No, yeah, this is one of the, like, I'll let listeners behind the curtain, as I'm sure you're aware, Sarah and I have been friends for a really long time, and from sort of the moment that we met each other, theatre was, other than the TISM, was the one thing that we definitely had in common. And doing this series feels like it's a big thing in our friendship, isn't it, really? Like, we've been talking about doing something together like this for a really long time, and it's also been so great for us to have an excuse to hang out a lot again. Yes. And like really set time aside, because I'm rubbish at doing that. I get in such monotropic flows and I forget people that I love exist. So
I mean, it's not just you. Like, I'm working 6 days a week in theatre, you know, and so time is difficult. And yeah, trying to carve out time for the people that you love can feel like a very big task. But it has been such a delight doing this, honestly, and there's no one else I would host a podcast with, you know, but it's been so fun being able to have the conversations that we've had, you know, off mic for a few years, you know, being able to discuss these things now, and with the knowledge that we've gained understanding ourselves, and, you know, me getting diagnosed and then be like, hey man, I think you got the thing too, surprise, you know.
Yeah, it was when you were like, hey, here's a test that you're 100% going to pass, my guy. I was like, oh,
did
no.
I win?
I won the prize. I already had the prize. It's in my brain.
What'd you get? I got an A plus. What'd you get? I got 4.
I got hit in the head. That's what happened to me. Yeah. So yeah, this is gonna be a little bit like, this is proper like closing night vibes, in that I feel like giddy and excited that we did the thing. We actually completed the thing, and it's gonna go out there and be made, and there's like a real sense of accomplishment. But I'm also really sad that we might not do this again for a little while. And please go and review it and like it so we can come back. That'd be great. Please and thank you.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head, both with this and closing night in general. It is that weird dichotomy of being super excited, feeling super proud, and just being like, we did it, we made it, and then going, no, I like this, I want to keep doing this, and all of the other feelings that might come with that, depending on what kind of show you're working on, depending on how long it's been running. You know, there's different versions of closing night as well. For shorter runs or limited engagements, you know, you might even be exhausted during closing night. You might just be excited to get it done so that you can go to sleep, you know.
Oh god, yeah.
But then there can also be that panic of, well, do I have a job lined up? Do I have anything prepared? Am I having a break? You know, whether that's of the fun employment kind or if it's a designated break that I've set for myself. You know, there's all of those feelings that come into it as well. Whereas on a long run, you might leave in the middle of a contract, as it were. So you're leaving, but it's not a closing night, or you're there and there's a cast change. And so, you know, you have this celebration of, hey, we've done it and these people aren't going to be here. And then the next day you have to go back in and there's a whole new bunch of people and you're like, no, this feels weird and different. And how you navigate that and how you adjust to that. I mean, have you had many closing nights? Tell me.
Yeah, I've had, so my career was mostly behind the scenes in like the super West End professional world, but I've done like off West End stuff and like university showcases, and I did a lot of Amdram. And like most Amdram that I did actually was kind of semi-professional. It had runs in big theatres and sold tickets, and it wasn't just like friends and family turning up. Most closing nights I've had have felt like a party. It's felt like, woo, we did the thing, guys. I'm so grateful, gratitude, prayers, sorrows. Those sorts of nights where essentially, if there's a free bar, I'm like, I'm sad and I'm not going to remember this shit show, so let's have a bev. If I'm truly honest, I've always loved closing night because it's given me the opportunity as a performer to, like, you know, get it out your system. And I find as well a lot of the time, especially people that are on stage, when you know it's closing night, it's like a second wind. You get like a really big energy of like, right, okay, let's go out with a bang. And I've always enjoyed closing nights. It's what comes after it that I've really struggled with, but we'll get into that. So what about you? How have you found going through a closing night? Because obviously you've done it with like cast changes, and closing night for you may have been in a mid-run. Yeah,
so it's been such a mixed bag, because there's shows that I've done that I have loved from start to finish, and I've hit closing night and that kind of upset has started seeping in, and I'm like, no, we just need to enjoy this right now, because, you know, this is the end of this as we know it, in a way. I've had it where I've done cast changes, and I had my last mix and people were singing and I was sobbing because the lyrics felt really poignant, and you know, they were obviously really in their feels, and everyone's just like you can hear it in people's voices, they're trying not to cry as they're singing, you know, but there are certain lyrics that just hit a bit too close to home, and you're like, like I remember the cast change of Hamilton, and the last time I mixed One Last Time.
Oh my god.
I was actively sobbing whilst mixing that, and I just was there because the gentleman playing Washington, his name is Trevor, And he and I could see each other. He could obviously see me at the back of the stalls, and he would always nod at the same part of the song, and it just hit that little bit different. And then he says as they build up the final chorus, and he says, "History has its eyes on you and you and you," and all this, and he's pointing at everyone in the cast, and then he pointed at me.
Oh, what a shitter!
I know, and I just went,
nice.
And I finished mixing the song, and to myself, like, everyone's obviously cheering and everything, and just to myself, I went, "Fuck you, man!" Like, because I'm just crying, and I was like, "How dare you make me cry?" Sort of thing. I was like, "I'm still gonna finish doing this show," sort of thing. But there's just that beautiful, like, synchronicity at points, and that was one of those. And you know, I've had it on other shows that I've done, like Much Ado About Nothing. I loved that show so much, and I could feel myself going. I didn't cry during the performance because there wasn't really anything that would catch, but on that final, like, on the final bit of that show, you know, I was mixing it, and there was just this swell of pride, but then there was also this part of me that just went, it's done. And holding those two emotions, which are very big as well, they're very big, very intense emotions, holding those at the same time, I was like, I don't know what to do.
It's literally like a car crash going on in your heart.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
And there's so many different things that come out of a closing night. You know, obviously you get the party, and that's always so much fun, you know, and being able to kind of talk with people and say, like, I've really appreciated working with you, it's been so fun, you know, and just kind of commemorating what you've achieved together, you know. But then on the flip side, you wake up the next day and you've lost your structure, especially on a short run, you know. You wake up the next day and you go, right, well, I'm not going to work. Oh. And that sort of almost like void kicks in where you're like,
now what?
Now what? Exactly. And that structure and that system of your day is gone. And, you know, it might be that you're moving on to a different show, or it might just be that you're having a break or something, but there is that moment where you just feel a bit untethered and like there's no real direction. And for me, I very much am someone who needs external structure. I struggle making my own structures, sort of thing. I definitely need a routine that is external to a decision that I've made. Because if I've made it, I'm like, well, I don't care because I won't listen to myself, you know.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense to me, that.
Exactly. So then I'm just kind of like, well, now I'm here. I'm not surrounded by people that I've been in such close proximity with for, you know, however long, 3 months, 6 months, you know, a year. And now I'm just here in my flat, you know, and you might be living with someone, or you might be alone, and you're like, well, now what? And that can be a very strange feeling. And it's almost like you have been running and then just a wall slams in your face. And that kind of momentum just stops.
Yeah, it is a hard stop.
Yeah.
You know what it's making me think of, dude? And disagree with me if you do. Press night for me is like a wedding reception.
Mm-hmm.
Closing night is like a wake. In that you're happy, but everybody has the one thing in common in the room, that we're all saying goodbye to something that we care about.
Ooh.
I always feel that moment of stepping out of the stage door for the last time, where I'm like, I take that step, it's done, it's over now. And there have been times, I can tell you, I have stood next to the stage door and not felt like I can step out, because I know once I'm gone, I'm not coming back. And it brings up a lot of feelings for me. Like, it feels like you're changing school, and you're going, well, who am I going to sit next to in class now? Who's going to sit with me at lunch? Where am I going to go and get my tea from? And, like, these are all really little things. But saying hi to the doorman every time you come into work, they're like, it's a loss of routine, and it can feel really physically dysregulating. Like, even something as so simple as getting on the tube and knowing what time you get on and how it becomes like clockwork. You don't even think about it, you just go. And then suddenly the next day, I have found myself getting up to go. And I remind myself, oh, we're done. That's it now. It's gone. And it can be really... it can really hit me in my nerves, because I feel like there is so much than just the show dies. Because it reminds me of so many elements of, like, what I've experienced with music journalism or sports journalism in my other life. In that you watch a band play an album and you go, the next time I see them, they're going to play different songs. They're going to be in a different era. And it's the same with, like, watching a sports team where a player may be sold and you go, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to see these people play together again. And that's what it feels like. You know, do you experience this, Sarah, where, like, maybe like a day or a week after, you go, oh, at this time now I'd be doing this, or I'd be here right now?
Yeah, I've had it. It's funny because I actually was speaking about this with one of the cast the other day. So we did Much Ado together, and the song to get us back into Act 2, it was all like 90s dance hits, and it was that one where it's like peas,
peas,
like,
pies, was it peas, pie, pudding, chips and rye? Yeah, that's how I've always...
Is that the lyrics? I just make
it's
up
not,
some
but
noise.
That's what, whenever I was DJing and I played that, I always used to just like peas, pies, pudding, chips and rye. Anyway,
that is all I'm going to be able to hear now. Thank you.
Sorry.
But that song was what got us into Act 2, and they were playing it at work the other day. Completely different show, but they were playing it, and my brain just went, I need to be places. Like, and the visceral, like, I have to do a thing, kicked in. Because it's so, when you've been on something for so long, especially when it's, like, connected to a piece of music, especially for me and probably for many neurodivergent folk, you know, like, there is that, it's almost like a Pavlovian response sort of thing, where your brain goes, this is this time, so this is what's happening. And it's that, like you said, you know, it's that routine of doing that. And to then not have that, your brain kind of goes, oh, but we should be doing a thing and we're not. And it can feel quite jarring, really. There's almost a level of muscle memory that comes into it, and my body goes, oh, I'm doing a thing. Or there's like certain songs that get used in like intervals and stuff like that, that now anytime I hear them, they're so intrinsically linked to a show. That jarring stop to the routine and then having to almost process that, you know, and untrain yourself in a way can be really difficult, because your routine and your ritual, which is what was kind of tethering you and regulating you, then has gone. And it's almost like taking the stabilizing wheels off and going, off you go, sort of thing. And that can be really difficult.
But one of the things that I've often experienced is being quite emotional on closing night, and I have often felt really unprofessional. Like, I don't see people being as upset as me. Like, there have been times where, like, I worked on an off West End show for a period of time that was on in Peckham, and I got on really, really well with a lot of the cast, and I really enjoyed working on that show. And everyone was saying, like, goodbye, and I felt like I was really overdoing it. I was like, oh, you know, I've loved working on this with you, I'm really going to miss you, and all this sort of stuff. And there were a couple of people that were just like, it's just a show. Like, you may never see me again, but I've got other things to think about and work on now. And that really was jarring for me, because I was like, I thought we'd built something here. I thought we were friends, and it's like, oh, it was just a work relationship, and that's the end of that. And I have taken that in a good way and a bad way moving forward, where I've tried to not be like as involved with people. But then, as an example, dude, every single time I hear Hidden Potential by Twerp, I can feel my steel boots on, I can feel my rigging gloves on, and you and me dancing in that cable room at Autograph. I can feel it. Like, the image is like, the feeling of everything is seared into my brain.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful, but it also makes me really miss you. So there's a lot, but there's a lot to sort of process with that when you're somebody who has feelings that are turned up to 11 all the time. Like, my resting energy out of emotions is like most people's 6 out of 10s, like my 0. And it can be a lot when you're saying goodbye to people. And I don't feel like the industry often allows space for that. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think it really is so dependent on the collective. I think, like you were saying, you know, there are some people who you're like, I really thought we had a connection, but clearly I've read more into this than you have, you know, and that can feel really jarring as well. And then there's other people who, you know, that it, as awful as it sounds, like, you know, it hurts them just as much as it hurts you.
Yeah.
Like, again, when I left Much Ado and I left my sound number 1, like, the two of us were crying at each other, and we were like, I'm gonna miss you so much, you're my favorite, I love you so much, you know, all of that. And the nice thing is, we make a point to try and stay in contact. I mean, we're both riddled with ADHD, we have horrific object permanence, so remembering to text each other is hilarious. But the moment we do, it's like we've just stepped back into that rhythm and stepped back into that routine of being like, no, we're back in our space and our bubble of how it begun on the show and how we've then sort of maintained it, which can be a really nice thing as well. It's hard because you have to find ways to navigate those feelings and navigate all of these challenges when there isn't really any institutional care sort of thing. Like, there's no real support network for closing nights, and not necessarily saying that there should be, but the understanding that it can be quite intense for certain people, whether you're neurodivergent or not. You know, I don't think it matters. You might have just really loved a show, and there is a level of kind of putting yourself into a show that I think we take for granted. Like, people who work in the arts, we put pieces of ourselves in the work we create, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so to then be done with that, it's kind of like you're losing a part of yourself. It's almost like you've severed a finger off and you're being told, okay, well, that's gone, as you were. And going, wait, but I just lost a finger. What do you mean? You know, that kind of feeling can spring up.
I don't feel like there's a lot of room to decompress. Like, every time I've ever finished a job, I feel like I need a month to get over it. But then that month's over and I'm like, I'm out of work. I have no more work. And there have been times where I have finished, before I've even finished a job, I feel like I'm looking for the next one. And I never release a lot of the emotional energy that I carry during a show or during a run. It's like, it'll finish and I'll be unregulated and emotional, and then instantly I'm going into like interviews or auditions, and I carry it, and I already feel too tired and not rested enough to then perform in the next one. It can be really like, it's relentless. It's
emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
And also the whiplash of going from being around people that you have now known for however long, you've established relationships, you've established these inside jokes and all of this, to then going into a brand new room of people who you maybe don't know anyone in that room. Sometimes you do, and that can be really helpful. But sometimes you'll go into a new space, a new show, and you have no idea. And you're going in blind and going, okay, well, now I need to assess where I fit in and how I interact with everyone. And it's almost like you have to mask in a way, because you then have to go, well, okay, I can't say these things that, you know, were understood in the joke that they were meant for, you know, because these people don't understand it. You know, I can't make the same jokes, I can't use the same language from the jump because there's no context there. So now I have to build a whole new context, a whole new community vibe, and understand how that all goes.
Yeah, it can be really tough as well. Like, one of the things that I found, as proud of you and as happy as I was for you to go and work on Hamilton, I really missed you. Like, because suddenly our schedules were completely the opposite. Every time I was free, you were busy. And then as soon as I started depping on other shows as well, you're suddenly looking at your calendar and going, hey friend, when can we hang out? And you're like, how about Sunday in November? And it's February.
Yeah.
And it's just like, fuck. I've lost my support system. I've lost, like, my in-jokes. And I feel like it's like literally moving to a new school. You just go, and who am I going to be with this lot? And it's really hard to navigate that silence. Like, if you're in a cast of like 30 people and you have your little cliques or whatever and you get on really well with people, it's really hard to go from a dressing room where you know what the social cues are because you've learnt them, you've learnt people's routines and their rhythms and their energy, and then suddenly you're alone.
Yeah.
You just feel overwhelmingly lonely. And I always grieve. I always grieve when anything ends, like whether it's a podcast or a show or anything. I find it really hard to not miss it because there's a lot of things that you lose. It's really tough. It's not really spoken about as well, and I feel like one of the things that I've enjoyed so much about this series is and I hope the listener agrees, in that this has actually given me a really safe space to talk about a lot of unspoken things. And I really hope it translates across, because a lot of what I'm saying to Sarah now, I would not say to anybody else. So this is why it's nice to do it in this series, because there's a bit of safety there. It's a big old secret that thousands of people are listening to. But I can't see them, so it's fine. That's why I wanted to do this series, because there is so much that you don't experience if you don't experience it. Like, you just don't feel it. Like, you leave a theatre show and you don't realise what is going on, and a lot of it is kind of heartbreaking in a little way.
Yeah, and like, I think there's also, and I'm very much someone who has done this. I hit like what I call rose tint era.
Oh no.
So I'll go through a show and I'll have a time, and they'll be good in there, you know, but there will also be the 17 breakdowns that have to happen for me to get through a run, and there'll be the exhaustion and the frustrations and all of that. And then I'll finish a show and I'll be like, oh, I really miss it. And I'm like, what are you doing? But what I miss is the community element, and I miss the routine and the people.
Yeah, it's absolutely brutal, isn't it, when you lose that communication. And when we come back after this little short break, we're going to delve into what it feels like afterwards in a bit more detail, that post-show depression, because it's real. It's real tough.
It is, and I need to lie down right now to figure it out.
We'll be right back with Act 2 of Theatrically Authentic. Hello, we are currently in our interval outside stage door, and do you know what, Sarah? It's got me thinking.
Yeah, what's up?
So, you know that feeling when you finish an episode of a podcast and you immediately tell someone they need to listen to it?
Ah, yes, I know it well.
Yeah, well, that's the feeling that I had when I was listening to Collecting Fish by a good friend of mine, James Hepworth.
Oh my god, immediately love it. What a name. Tell me more.
So, I really love how thoughtful this show is, simply because James is just amazing, and how much I learned from him about this really cool hobby I didn't really know that much about. fish keeping.
Fish keeping? Hell yeah, fish!
Fish, yeah. On the surface, it's just a podcast about fish keeping, aquariums, and ecosystems. But under the surface, it's really about curiosity, patience, special interests, and the things that bring meaning to our lives.
That's really, really cool. It sounds like a show that is made with love and passion.
Absolutely, just like ours. Even though our shows are very different, I think they connect in the same way. They both celebrate what happens when people care deeply about something and aren't afraid to share that passion with others. So, if you're into Theatrically Authentic, I think collecting fish deserves a spot in your aquarium too. So after this episode, go listen to Collecting Fish.
Blah, 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 blah. Fisher boys.
Welcome to Act 2 of Theatrically Authentic. Simon Scott here with Sarah Atherton-Knight. I am now out from underneath my weighted blanket. I have seen the sun, and I feel a little bit better than I did a moment ago. Post-show depression, my friend, what does it look like for you?
It really depends. It depends on the show. It depends on where I'm at in terms of like my life and stuff. Generally speaking, I turn into a potato. I just full hermit mode, and I have to do it for at least a day, which can be hard because sometimes you just jump straight into a new show. But I have to almost carve out a moment where I can just be like, I just need to be sad, and I just need to be like, okay, I'm gonna feel my feelings about this, and I'm gonna just feel like I've lost everything. And again, I'm one for the dramatics. It's why we work in theatre, you know. But I'm like, I'm never gonna have this again, and like I feel so directionless, and just I've lost all the people I love. Objectively, I understand that I haven't lost these people, you know. They've not disappeared from my life forever. But I have to have that kind of moment of drama so that my brain can then go, but it's okay because you'll see them around, you know. And I almost have to like bargain with myself a lot of the time, because I have to be like, it's okay, you'll probably see them again, this is a small industry. And I'm very lucky that I've had that on shows, you know, like on Showman there are people that I've worked with in various capacities on various shows, and so they've seen me in different points of my career, which is also kind of fun, because then you go, oh, you saw me when I was first starting out, and you've seen me in my most recent job, and it must be really weird seeing how that's evolved and how that's developed, and at the same time it's really nice to pick back up where we left off, kind of thing. But one of the big things that I find hard, and I find hard generally with my career, is the loss of my identity when I finish a show. And that idea of who am I when I'm not doing this? Because I don't know about you, and I'd love to hear how you feel about this, but for me, my identity is very much wrapped up in my work. And you know, it's one of the things that I love, and I'm so lucky and grateful to be able to say that this is my career. And I spent a long time trying to get into the industry, so to be able to say that I do it is wonderful and truly a gift. So then when a show's closed and I maybe don't have anything lined up after, I'm like, who am I without my work? You know, do you find that you have that, or?
Oh God, yeah. When I'm doing a show, I feel special. Like, it's really hard to go from that adrenaline rush of hearing an applause for something that you've done every single night to suddenly just, like, being in a supermarket and just feeling like, in the most honest way possible, you just go, I'm a nobody now. I'm just me again. And it's really hard to separate yourself from characters as well, but after a post-show, I'm literally like a war widow. I'm like looking at photos and just being like, who was I before this man? Like, I genuinely feel like I'm like sat out on a porch, like crying. Like, that's genuinely
I
how
get it though.
it's like, I don't know how to quit you. That's genuinely how I feel like with certain characters. But it's the loss of like dopamine, dude. I feel like I go from having a purpose, whether it's like a communal purpose of like my place within the cast or on the crew or whatever, and going from like all of that adrenaline, I find it really hard to adjust back into like everyday life, let alone going back into the finding work life. And I can give a really good example. I played Melchior in a run of Spring Awakening that ran for like 4 weeks, and it was an amdram, but then quite a fair amount of people actually in it have gone on to have really great careers. And I found it really, really hard to, one, stop doing the American accent, and I found it really hard not to feel an energy spike around call times, in that my body knew, it was like, right, we're getting into the character, we're getting ready, we go to hair and makeup now, I go and get fitted for my mic now, and I'm at home, and it's that really horrible feeling of, I've left the oven on. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like I've done something that I really should do. And I find that my body grieves the routine in like the worst way possible. Like, it really, really grieves the routine. And when I did Spring Awakening, the last scene is he grieves. A character is dead. Vendela is dead. And
Spoilers.
so it's been out for years. But yeah, sorry, my bad. I forget that people that are listening to this may not have seen it, so proceed with caution, I suppose. Sorry, everybody. But when I did that last show, I really let it out. Like, I was so gutted that this show was finishing. It was the first time that I'd done a lead in a big show, and I felt like a lot of my identity was dying. And I went on holiday about 2 or 3 days later with my parents, because I was only like 17, 18 at the time. And I felt like I had just lost so much stimulation, like going from being on a show that sold a lot of tickets and felt really busy, and when you're the lead, you feel special. You do feel special. Like, when your name's on the poster, you feel special. And to suddenly then sit on a beach 2 days later, it was just like, who am I now? Like, genuinely, who am I now? Like, what do I do with this? Because I feel like I should be somewhere that I'm not. I feel like I should be hanging around with people. And you've still got the songs in your head and the lyrics and the lines and the blocking and everything, like the choreography and everything. And to suddenly have all of that filling your headspace to nothing, it's a car crash in my mind. Yeah. I find it so disruptive, and it takes me such a long time to get back to it. And a lot of the time as well, whether you go from like a lead role to then like a chorus role straight afterwards, that can be jarring as well.
Yeah.
You don't feel as important. And it's really hard to navigate that rumination and that feeling of self-worth once a show's finished. It's what you were saying. It's, who am I if I'm not doing the show? And being in between jobs is killer, especially as a neurodivergent person. From my own lived experience, my brain goes, what if we never work again? And it's really hard to get through that, especially like I've career pivoted and I still do the odd acting thing, mostly TV. But there are a lot of times I walk off a TV set or a film set, whether I'm doing a spoken role or, you know, a walk-on, or even if I'm just a supporting actor in the background. Every single time I leave a set, I go, you never know if you're going to come back, Si. And it's really hard to let go. It's really hard.
What's funny is it's similar for me in that, like, I've been very fortunate that for a while I've gone, you know, job to job to job, or I've known what's coming up. But recently I've had more of a, I don't know what's next, and I've not got anything concrete lined up, and I'm sort of in a way going where the wind takes me, which can be really fun. But there is that part of me that, like you, goes, what if you never work again? and combine that with then the stress of, well, you need a job because you need to pay your rent and you need to pay your bills and all of the nonsense that comes with adult life that you're still trying to manage, which, you know, that's a whole other ball game to talk about with neurodivergence as well. But navigating all of that at the same time is a very overwhelming experience, I find. And
Yes.
sort of picking yourself back up afterwards can be hard. And then I also think about it from a different point of view. I don't know if you feel like this. If there's a show that I'm a fan of and that's closing, there is a sadness that I have for that as well. And I also get it for shows that have closed that I haven't seen, that I wanted to see.
Oh, that's the killer. It's the FOMO. It's the FOMO that kills me. I'm like, I really wanted to go see that and I didn't get a chance.
And I'm annoyed that I didn't go. And there's a grief to that as well. And, you know, there are ways and means to kind of see things, and we won't get into the ethics of those ways, shall we say.
Slime tutorials.
Yeah. Exactly. I
love it's the captions that kill me, but
I love them.
If you know, you know, there are bootlegs out there, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, they're so fun. But yeah, and then it's kind of going, but I wasn't there, and so it's a different way of experiencing it. And like we've spoken about this before, but like one of the things that I love about theatre is that for however long, you know, for 3 hours, you are experiencing something that will never be experienced in this specific iteration again, because you will have different people in the room, you'll have different temperatures, you'll have different cast, maybe, you know, all of these different factors that go into that moment. You won't have that again.
It is a moment in time, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's something that is really special about theatre. And you can recall things, you can collect programmes and say, oh, I saw it when this person was in it and this cast were on, you know, and all of that. And that's a way to kind of cope, I guess. And you know, what's really cool about the world that we live in now is the accessibility of things and the ability to create communities around shows. You know, looking at, say, Starlight Express, looking at Heathers, you know, the communities and the fandoms that have come out of those shows is really cool. And I'm not necessarily in those fandoms or in those communities, but I think it's really nice. And I know Starlight's closing in London in May, I forget when, but I know that that's going to be really hard for a lot of people. And the ability to rely on your community to go through that process can be really crucial for a lot of people.
Yeah, like memories can be like a healthy response to impermanence. I think that's one of the things that I find difficult about leaving a show is you haven't got people to reminisce with. And I find if I don't talk about the memory, I can't just like pick it out of thin air. I need a prompt.
Yes.
Like I have one of those sorts of brains where if somebody mentions something, I will be able to open the folder in my brain and have all of the details, but I can't find it unless somebody brings it up. And that's what I like about like the archiving of shows and that how people collect programs, or if there's like you know, filmed versions of a show, like fan art's a really big thing as well. And I really like the community aspect of it, like going on Reddit and just discussing a show or just reading comments or like things like that. Like, as an example, I never got to go and see Beetlejuice on Broadway. I would have absolutely loved to, but talking to you about it as somebody who did makes me feel connected to it still, and it makes me have almost like a a parasocial relationship with your memory in a way. And obviously, as our community are extreme, passionate super fans, it can be really, really tough.
So true. So true. And it's that thing where the ability to connect through a show and have that can sort of help ease the grief and ease the sadness of it all. There's also a joy in being able to connect with someone about a show and being able to say, you know, even though I didn't see it, the way that you spoke about it makes me super excited and I want to learn more about it. You know, like we just did an episode about Evan Hansen, which you haven't seen, but after, you know, discussing it and looking into it a bit more, you're more open to potentially watching or listening to it, sort of thing. And one of the great things about theatre is sometimes that community aspect can bring a show back, you know, and create the revivals. I mean, that's what happened with Heathers. That's what happened with Beetlejuice, you know. The community is what brought it back in and gave it an additional bit of life. And there is something so intrinsic to the relationship of theatre in that you need to love it deeply.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the nice things about being neurodivergent and working in theatre is you are able to go into something and your passion is not too much. Like you can be as passionate as you feel because that's celebrated in theatre. To care deeply about something isn't this cringe notion. It's what makes theatre work, and it's why we do it as a job. And there are those joyous moments where your passion creates something really beautiful, I think.
I have a difficult relationship with social media in that I have a slight addiction to it, but I don't take part in it. I'm one of those that's like watches, and I often feel like I'm living through other people's reels and things like that. But what I will say about the theatre community is fan edits are awesome. I absolutely love watching a fan edit of a show. Like, look at how Beetlejuice came back through like fan edits. But it's keeping the memory alive. Yes. And like maintaining that connection with the fan base, because I think all of us as audience members and theatre fans, and if you, the listener, are the same, you'll agree, it's really difficult navigating that post-show grief. But instinctively, it's an experience that we all share, whether that's as a performer, a crew member, or an audience member. We're all really sad that it's coming to an end. And there is that moment from being on stage, off stage, or in the audience where you go, I will never have this exact version again. And one of the things that I love about cast albums, or bootlegs, or fan edits, is it keeps it alive. It keeps that exact version alive, and it's really really great to live in that moment again. I miss it, but at the same time, it's weird. It is really weird. Like, I listened to the cast album of Hamilton, the OG one, and then I speak to people that actually got to see it live. And like, as an example, Dr. Angela Kingdon from the network has seen Hamilton on Broadway with the OG cast many times. And I never feel jealous. I just feel enamoured in hearing their memory. And that I love about this, in that I can talk about a show that I've been in, or other people have worked on, or other people have seen. And a lot of the time, I'm not speaking for everybody, but I go, I love that for you. And it makes me feel connected to it. So much of my neurodivergent experience of developing special interests, and disagree with me otherwise, listener and Sarah, is that if somebody comes up to me and is so passionate and so infectious about something, that energy rubs off. And I can fall in love with a show that maybe closed 10 years ago, but I can listen to the cast album and feel like I'm there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the exact same. Like, even if I don't necessarily have an interest in something. If someone is passionate about it and someone, you know, if they love it so much and they're so excited to talk about it, I get excited because I'm like, I love that this is something that sets you alight. For example, one of my friends is a project manager and she really loves Excel.
Do you know what? I know a couple of people that are a bit obsessed with Excel. I don't get it.
This is exactly the thing. I don't understand. I've never been good with numbers. I've never really understood that world. But when she talks about it, I'm like, yeah, numbers, Excel, spreadsheets, projects, hell yeah. You know, all of this. And I have no idea what's going on. Like, to me, she could be speaking gobbledygook. But it's the intention and the energy that makes me excited about it. And that's what is important. And I think it's the same with shows and the same with, you know, kind of keeping a show alive in our memories, being able to talk about it passionately, being able to be excited about something and saying, no, this is why I love this. Even if, you know, someone else maybe doesn't. There are people that love, say, for example, Les Mis. You know, there are people who are diehard fans of Les Mis. Personally, it's not for me. And I say that as someone who's depped on the show, but I can still appreciate the piece for what it is. It's just not something that I'm going to be that enamoured with. But when someone talks about it with that level of excitement, I'm then like, oh no, I get where you're coming from. And then there's an appreciation and an understanding of that. But it's hard when it's something that might not have life again. For example, I did a show called Your Lie in April, which is based on an anime. It was a beautiful musical, and it didn't get the life it deserved. It didn't get the run it deserved, in my opinion. And I don't know whether there will ever be a revival, you know. I don't know if it has onward life, but there is a cast album. If people would like to listen to it, they're more than welcome to. Please support the arts, you know, and support that very talented group of people. But one of the things that I did, you know, when the show closed, you know, first and foremost, I took a break because a lot of my routine was gone and it was abruptly cut more so than normal closing night. You know, we were given our 2 weeks notice, which is a whole other ball game, and it's very jarring. And I had to grieve that show. But then now that I have the cast album, I'm able to sort of listen to it and go, oh yeah, I remember that. That was really fun. And oh, at this point we would do this, and you know, it sort of brings it back. And I'm wondering, do you have any particular processes or coping mechanisms to how you handle a closing night?
Oh, good question. I've had to learn I've got to take rest afterwards before rushing into the next thing. Because if I go into the next job with depleted energy, you never get it back. Because you're on the go constantly. With a bit more sort of maturity and a lived experience, I acknowledge that there's a transition coming. So, like, before the last week of any sort of gig, I really try and honour and be present in that it's coming to an end. So, for example, if I've done a show, regardless of what it is, if there's a cast album, I will actually listen to it and try and sob and let it out. And I often find with my emotions, I'm a little bit like a dog. They throw up in the corner and they go, I'm fine now. And I need to, like, get it out. Otherwise, it really sits under the skin. And honestly, I will, at the time of, like, 5-minute call or whatever, I will put the cast album on and I will sob and I will go Bridget Jones and feel sorry for myself and eat ice cream. And then the next day I go, enough now, Si. Like, don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that you did it. Yeah. And that's just what I try and do. I know that there are some people that are journalers. I don't journal personally, but I've known people that will write down how they're feeling about certain shows or will keep journals during shows. And when that show finishes, they write the last entry in it and they close it and start a new one. That's something that I have experienced.
Oh, I love that.
But I also have, in the past, done reunions where there was a specific show that I worked on in sports journalism and it came to an end, and a couple of years later we all met up for a burger and a beer and just talked about it and gushed about it and shared some memories.
Yeah.
And it felt really cathartic. So they would be things that I would recommend, and like try and maintain some of the routines that helped during the run. Like I would always go and get my food at like 5:30, so then I would just eat tea at 5:30 and just try and keep some semblance of the routine, even if, like, when I used to live in town, and by town I mean in London, I would actually get on the tube. So if there were days where I was either going to a radio studio or anything and that day changed, I would still go out at the time I would normally go, but I would just do something else so that my muscle memory is at least being fed, but not on what I've just worked on.
That's very smart.
What about you? What would you say are your processes?
I mean, I'm commandeering the same time thing, because that's very clever.
It's very helpful.
Yeah, I'm very much someone who, if I have particular close connections, I will say, let's meet up in a couple of weeks, and I will try and schedule in when we're going to catch up. It sort of softens the blow, because I go, it's not goodbye, it's see you soon. And I think that is a really big thing for me. And like you, I have that little bit of a cry, and I'm like, okay, I'm allowed to be sad, but I can't be sad forever.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't help anyone. So I honour that grief without minimising it in the same way that you do. And then, yeah, I personally have like a little memory box of all the shows that I've worked on, and it will
I love that.
it will have programs of the shows, and so it will have like my name in it, you know, and it will say what role I was, or it will be just, even if I'm like depping on something, and I'm not there for the entire run, you know, I'll have some sort of memento to say, I was there, I did this. Because for me, with the ADHD as well, I find that my working memory can be quite temperamental.
Yeah,
shall we say?
I miss out on so much good memories. Why does it always focus on the shit ones, though?
Yeah, and so if I have something to trigger that memory, you know, in whatever capacity, that can help me shape it and go, okay, no, let's focus on the positives. Let's focus on the things that were really good. And, you know, I'm very lucky that I can afford a therapist, and I'll talk through with her, and we'll look at like reframing, and, you know, at the end of a run, she'll go, what were your favorite things about the run? And for me, that is so important, because I'm not looking at the whole thing. I'm looking at the things that mattered the most to me. And then that helps cement those as the thing that I enjoyed, rather than me going, oh, it was a horrible run and I really struggled and blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm going, well, no, actually there was, even if I had not the best time, there were pockets of good, there were pockets of joy. And there are things that I've learned, you know, and I think that every show has given me a lesson in whatever capacity, you know, and looking at it through that lens of, okay, well, what did I learn from this show? What do I want to take from this forward? What do I think I can leave behind? You know, and sort of having not specifically a journaling moment, but having that kind of inner dialogue of a journaling, if that makes sense.
No, that makes absolutely all the sense in the world. It's so important to honour and be present with how you feel, and I understand, as somebody who really struggles with rumination as a neurodivergent person, if you don't keep the good memories alive, you lose them. And it's really important to honour them and to reminisce and to enjoy it, and it's like the rough with the smooth. And unfortunately, Sarah, that means that we are now coming to the end of our own run.
No!
of the show. I know, but it's only going to be for a little while, I promise.
I know.
But before we do say goodbye to you lovely listeners and we step off, I'm literally thinking about stepping through the stage door right now and it's making me feel a bit sad. But that's what this is. It's that's we're honouring that moment. So Sarah, what has been your favourite takeaway from doing this series?
Oh God, don't put me on the spot like that.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. I think this has been so much fun, just getting to talk with you so openly about so many of the things that we love and being able to be vulnerable about some stuff, you know, and actually get into the weeds of it in a way, and being able to kind of bring more light onto things that people don't necessarily know, and being able to talk about how the intersection of our neurodivergence and our love of theatre, like being able to discuss that, has been so wonderful and honestly kind of healing as well, because it can feel lonely sometimes. And that's not to say that there's any specific thing, but I think with a lot of neurodivergent folk, I think you can feel so alien in certain situations. And so to then have a space where I'm with one of my best friends and being able to talk about this and having that shared, like, oh my God, I do that too. And yeah, I feel like that, you know, there is a validation and an understanding that is so wonderful. And being able to share it with people who maybe don't work in theatre and people who are interested in this and don't really know much about it and want to hear more. And if that is you, dear listener, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure from the bottom of Simon's heart, you know, for taking the time to listen to us ramble about something that we are both so passionate about.
Yeah, ditto. I couldn't have really said that any better myself. It has been so rewarding for me to be able to feel like I'm back in it.
Yeah.
Because I miss it. I really miss it. And even though I found London really hard to live in and really overstimulating, and just the emotional integrity that it takes to work in this industry, it's full on. It's a full on existence. And I really struggled with having to accept that it doesn't suit me as a person always. And I've you know, I do something that I love, and I'm incredibly proud of the network, the Autistic Culture Podcast Network that we've built. But I'm even more proud because I got to do this show with one of my dearest friends, like one of my favourite human beings. And
don't make me cry.
No, don't. I'm already a bit teary. But it's just been so wonderful to be able to share something that I thought I'd lost. So it's been a really great opportunity for me to just feel present in my special interest again. So listeners, thank you for that.
Look, final thought.
Oh, go
you
on.
can take the kid out of theatre, but you cannot take the theatre out of the kid.
No,
You're
you
always gonna be part of it, all right?
Mm.
And even if it's not in London, I'm sure you'll be in a theatre soon.
This is the one thing that I wanted to take away, right? Is that doing this show, one, has made me start going back to theatre.
Good.
I've started seeing shows, but it's also made me want to be back in them again.
Do it.
And I'm been looking at some acting classes and things like that, and I'm a bit like, do you know what, Si? I'm not doing it. I wouldn't do it anymore to feel success. I'd do it because I just love doing it. And I hope that really comes across from this show. I really hope it comes across as to why neurodivergent people love this stuff, why it's integral, and once you are a theatre kid, that's it, you're in. And if you've loved this series, please give it a like, please give it a review. And if you've really enjoyed this series and you've listened to two neurodivergent people just indulge themselves in what they love, please go and listen to other shows on the network, whether it's lived experiences or special interests, or even if it's just discussing the medical model. I really hope that this series has encouraged you to give others a chance. And once you give neurodivergent people the opportunity and the safe space to truly be themselves, that's where the magic happens. And I hope that we've we've done a little bit of that for you, the listener. So watch this space. We'll likely be back with another season, and I really hope we can. So thank you so much for being with us. That's us. That's it. I'm walking off the boards now.
Let's take our final bow.
I'm stepping through stage door. Bye, everybody. We'll be back. I've been Simon Scott from the Autistic Culture Podcast Network. A big thank you to Sarah Atherton-Knight. You are a rock star, and I can't wait to hear what you're working on next.
I love you, dude.
I love you too. I'm really gonna miss this.
See you soon.
Bye, everybody.
ACPN.
This conversation was made possible by our culture builders. Our culture builders support the Autistic Culture Podcast Network through Autistic Culture Plus, helping us support autistic creators, launch new podcasts, and keep these conversations available for everybody to enjoy. If you're already a culture builder, thank you. Your support means more than you could know. And if you'd like to join them, for just £5 a month, you'll get every episode we make here early and completely ad-free, while knowing that you are continuing to build the home for autistic media. Find out more at autisticcultureplus.com. Autistic Culture Plus, supporting autistic creators one conversation at a time.